A big day for U.S. politics, as in Washington, House Speaker Mike Johnson's bid to retain his post looks to be on a knife edge. That's despite President-elect Donald Trump giving him his endorsement. Lawmakers are converging on the Capitol to kick off a new Congress. Republican Senator John Thune has been selected without a hitch as the new Senate Majority Leader. But in the House of Representatives, Mr. Johnson is trying to persuade a handful of sceptical Republican lawmakers to back his leadership. Johnson can afford to lose only one vote from his own party, but around half a dozen hardliners are reported to be holding out for promises to rein in spending. Well, Mike Johnson has been talking to reporters as he walked to the Speaker's office.
This election is not just about one person. It's about moving forward with the America First agenda. The mandate was given by the American people, by the electorate. President Trump got 77 million votes. The House Republicans got almost 75 million. It's a record number. They are expecting us to get to work, and we don't have time for drama. So my simple message to my colleagues is make suggestions about process improvements. We're open to that at all times, but I don't make deals with anyone. There's no quid pro quo here. I don't do anything in exchange for a vote other than commit to make this institution work as effectively and efficiently as possible.
Audrey Folberg is a political reporter at the National Reporter in Washington and joins us now. Audrey, good to see you. So first of all, how big a test is this of Republicans' control of Congress?
This is a major test. First of all, thank you for having me today. Republicans are really looking forward to their trifecta in Washington. Obviously, Trump won this landslide victory, and Republicans, of course, have majorities in the House and the Senate. But that optimism about their agenda this year in this new Congress is, of course, tempered by this very slim majority that they have in the House. Recall that Trump's initial pick to lead the Justice Department, Matt Gaetz, the initial Attorney General designee, resigned after he withdrew from consideration from that role. That brings them to a 219, 215 majority heading into the new Congress. And of course, that will grow slimmer still as two other congressmen will head to high profile roles in the Trump administration. Today's a major test for Speaker Johnson. There's been frustration brewing with his leadership for quite some time. Thomas Massie, one of the biggest fiscal hawks in Congress, he threatened to oust Johnson last year over frustrations with a costly foreign aid bill. He never followed through on that threat. But after pre-Christmas government funding negotiations looked pretty sour for Johnson, he, of course, ended up coming to a solution that ended up funding the government through mid-March. But there were a lot of frustrations with the length of the initial bill and the costly provisions and a bipartisan deal with Democrats. And, of course, the second attempt, at the urging of Trump, Johnson tried to muscle through a debt limit extension, which infuriated fiscal hawks even more. So as you mentioned, a lot of hardliners, in addition to Massie, it's unclear what the vote will look like today, but a lot of hardliners are really hoping for promises for spending cuts and pay-fors in legislation this cycle if they want to give him the gavel.
So as you say, Audrey, this half a dozen or so Republicans who are really concerned about debt want that spending reined in. Do you think it's down to some horse trading now to sort this out, or is it going to be trickier than that, more fundamental than that?
It's really tricky here because recall when Kevin McCarthy, he took multiple ballots of counting on the House floor to secure the gavel last Congress. So, and he did that after he eventually won the gavel after a lot of behind closed doors deals with Republicans. One of those agreements that he agreed to was, of course, lowering the motion to vacate the speaker to just one vote, which, of course, ended up leading to his undoing. So Speaker Johnson is aware of that. That's why he's telling reporters that he's not going to agree to any closed door deals. A lot of hardliners are talking about, urging Johnson to make Chip Roy the chairman of the Rules Committee. That's something that they really want him to agree to. It's unclear if he will follow through on that. But again, the major consideration is whether Johnson will agree to spending cuts. But of course, we'll have to see. It's unclear what that vote will look like later today.
And just very briefly, Audrey, if you would, does this potentially give more power than expected to the minority leader in the House? That's the Democrat Hakeem Jeffries, who Speaker Johnson has worked with on a number of times to get some votes through.
He has worked with him in the past. Of course, as I mentioned, they worked together on a government funding deal, a bipartisan 1,547-page long bill, right? But then, of course, that ended up falling through, and that has frustrated Hakeem Jeffries. Today, Democrats are expected to uniformly vote for Hakeem Jeffries on the House floor, and they're not expected to save Johnson in this vote. But of course, next year he may need some help to get some big ticket items across the finish line because he'll have such a slim majority.
OK, Audrey, thank you very much. Audrey Folberg there from The National Reporter in Washington.